Do you have any reason to believe that this project would pose any greater risk to any public health, safety, and welfare than any other similar type of use to this?
No, I don't.
And you mentioned and gave an evaluation, I guess, or a statement that there wouldn't be any heightened fire hazard from this project. And can you just identify as well, would there be any requirement for any kind of special firefighting equipment or anything like that? Should there be any incident in the system?
There'd be no need for any special equipment. The only potential response that might be needed would be to a grass fire, which would just be followed with water, and it could be truck supplied.
So a fire within the facility, water is what would be used to fight that fire?
Yes, that's correct.
And are there examples out there? Have there been any examples where, or are there training manuals out there for firefighters for these kinds of facilities? Can EMS services be trained on how to respond to anything at the facility?
Yes, they can be, and this type of equipment is not only been installed out in the ground mounted like this for a long time now across the country, but also same equipment is regularly installed on tops of commercial buildings. So there's good national firefighting associations have produced training materials for how to deal with fires, both at buildings and on the out the grounds, for at solar facilities. The thing to be aware of is while there are AC disconnect switches, you can disconnect the project from the AC electricity or the grid electricity. When the sun's shining on the panels, certain aspects of the panels themselves still get energized, or still producing voltage. So that's where some concern has been raised. Well, can you spray water on those panels? That was research that goes back almost 20 years now by United Laboratories, UL Laboratories, did that exact testing to find out and confirm with some really detailed testing results under what conditions is it safe or not safe to spray water on energized solar panels. And they gave a conclusion: as long as you were at least 15 feet away and didn't use a solid stream of water, used just a small spray angle, 10-degree spray pattern, that it was safe to spray energized solar panels with water. And that's the recommendation really across the firefighting industry, is that water is the appropriate method to fight fires in or around PV systems or photovoltaic systems.
And so you do not anticipate that there will be any greater burden on fire and emergency services from this system? Is that correct?
That's correct. I would not expect any additional burden.
And there would be no greater burden than any similar type of use?
Correct. Any use in this area would have some marginal, tiny fire risk, and this would have a very low risk relative to a lot of other uses.
Is there anything associated with the project that would cause any vibrations that would be noticeable anywhere?
No, not during operation. During construction and driving the support structure piles into the ground, if you were close enough, there might be some vibrations during that short portion of construction. But after that, there's nothing that would create any vibrations.
And you wouldn't anticipate that there would be any kind of smoke or air emission dust from this project.
Correct. None of that. You could have some dust generated during construction, just like any other time that some land's getting disturbed, but that will be quickly dealt with vegetation covering the entire project. And there'll be no dust during operations.
And when you talked about the composition of the panels, I just want to clarify, this is not a cadmium-based panel, is that correct?
That's correct. There are essentially two different technologies on the market right now and have been for decades. Silicon-based panel, which is what is used in this project, and then entirely separately a cadmium telluride-based panel. And the silicon-based panel at this project does not include any cadmium.
And is the cadmium-based product, is that the source of a lot of the, I guess, literature or concerns regarding panel health effects or potential adverse effects?
It is.
And
it is. It's a fairly common panel type technology that's been around for quite a few decades. So any reference or concern regarding cadmium in solar panels is coming about from that cadmium telluride type of panel because there's not cadmium in any other types of solar panels.
And so because this is a silicon panel, that's of no, you don't feel as though that's any concern here?
100% correct. Yeah, that's right.
So just to summarize, based on your professional opinion and your review of this project, is it your professional opinion that the equipment proposed for the project meets or exceeds energy or industry standards for safety and reliability?
Yes, it is.
And is it also your professional opinion that there's no heightened risk or adverse impact to the public health, safety, and welfare of the surrounding community based on the system?
Yes, that's my conclusion.
And you haven't identified any potential risks with this project that would be greater than any similar use related to this?
That's correct.
That's all I have for this witness.
Jay Sporer, any questions?
Yes, I do have one question. Jay Sporer, intervener, looked directly across the road. On the motors that are on the tracking system, Mr. Berry had explained to us that they are operated by 12-volt batteries, yet your assessment says there is no batteries involved in this. Which is the case here?
Yeah, I'm actually not sure if there's a battery or not. If there was a battery, it would be this little small batteries down in this little blue module here at the base of the panel. In their literature, I didn't see that it made it clear whether or not there was a battery there, but I think that it would be because they're able to move these in the evening, or at least I believe they're able to move them in the evening, which would require a battery if you're moving them when there's no sunshine on them.
Would those batteries be in something that is contained that, should there be any leakage, it does not go out on the ground?
There would be lithium-ion batteries in a small. Yeah. I mean, you can kind of see here, this is a metal enclosed box that would also have some controls, like a circuit board in there. So they would be sealed away from the environment in there. But lithium-ion batteries aren't susceptible to leaking. The little bit of liquid in them, if they start to leak out, it evaporates. So it doesn't come out as a liquid. It would evaporate.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
And Mr. Cleveland, that representation came from, in the spec sheet, the drive system says that it's a 12 VDC motorized slew drive. I don't know if that helps you to determine if that's a battery reference or not. We may have incorrectly referenced that as a battery system.
See, yeah, nothing about that says it's necessarily a battery. This is a 12-volt based panel, the solar panel here, and then the screw drive is referring to the gearing that happens between the motor and the shaft. But I do suspect that there is a 12-volt battery in there, but the documentation doesn't make it clear, and I'm not familiar enough with this product to know for sure.
And even if there was a 12-volt battery in there, is there any health or safety concern from that? And based on your experience in the field, has there ever been any health or safety concern resulting from those?
Yeah, there would be none at all. It would be very similar to lithium-ion batteries in a laptop computer, which we often, or a cell phone, would have much closer to us than these few panels out in the field a long way from anybody. So you have to say no, there will be no health or safety concern if there is a battery in there.
Good, Jay. Okay, Cheryl McDonough, any questions?
All right, so I thought I had heard that there was like a battery, like for so many of these things that are
One
made.
battery for each motor?
That's what I thought I
I'm
understood
not sure.
from what they said before, whoever.
So, and what we had read off was the spec that I just read to Mr. Cleveland, and that's referring to the voltage of the motor, not necessarily that there's a battery specific to this system. That's part of the electrical design, which again is something that would have to be finalized here. So and we're not at that stage. The electrical design wouldn't be finalized until we have approvals of the system and we know that it's moving forward. But I think Mr. Cleveland, you can answer this more thoroughly if you need to, but I think Mr. Cleveland's testimony is that even if the typical battery for these motors was installed on this system, that he would not have any health or safety concern with that. Is that
So you
accurate
can't
to
tell
say,
me.
Mr. Cleveland?
That's accurate. And to make sure this is clearly in perspective, this would be a very small battery. I mean, literally something like the size of a cell phone or a cell phone charging pack for each motor. So
Each motor.
very small batteries, very similar to what many of us have in our pocket getting a cell phone all day.
And those would be encapsulated as well. They're not just exposed out and exposed to the
They would be there, be protected from the environment. So yeah, never getting any moisture on them.
Okay, so per each motor. Is that what I just understood? You said battery per each motor.
Correct.
Okay, so the multiple batteries.
Correct.
Okay. Now, what about lightning strikes to these battery packs or whatever, or the motor or any part of it? We get some pretty good lightning storms here. What if it's hit by lightning?
Yeah, they have extensive grounding on these systems, largely for that purpose, to try to protect any of the electronics, including the motors. So most likely the lightning would all flow through that intentional grounding system. It's essentially like a lightning rod system, and there wouldn't be any damage, but it's possible, depending on the route the lightning took, it could destroy a motor or a few motors.
Or start a fire?
It would be low risk that it could damage equipment. I guess part of the damage would be the lightning burning the equipment, but you kind of look at this picture and get the sense of how little there is to burn. You're basically looking at glass and metal. It's not a fire risk.
Okay, so it's not a risk. We also get some pretty bad windstorms. The last couple of years, I had a couple of 100-year-old oak trees uplifted, and neighbors in this direct vicinity had roofs blown off, buildings knocked, and so that's pretty severe wind if it comes through. Even Mrs. Drake had her roof damaged from a storm. So what is if you get a tornado, I think it was actually classified as, will these panels get uplifted or blown off and be flying through the air?
Yeah, it depends on the wind speed. This Terra Smart racking system we're looking at here, they can make it to be rated up to 150 mile an hour wind, which would mean it could withstand up to 150 miles without any damage.
So are they,
If it was tornado,
is that what they're planning on putting
it
in?
would be above that, and it would pull panels off and break panels. They don't fly around very much. I've seen tornado damage photos from several projects, and they twist and mangle the panels and pull them off the rack, but they don't go very far away from the equipment. So at that point it would have to be cleaned up and rebuilt, whichever portion was damaged. But that really does take something as extreme as a tornado. There'll be
Last year I had another tree pulled up from the ground, right, Chris?
really wind speed. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I see you starting.
Well, I'm just saying.
I hear you starting to talk.
I personally had.
Just questions, no statements.
Okay.
Cheryl, no statements,
All right,
just
so-
questions, it's cross-examination.
So, my question is that there will be no damage in a tornado of these things coming and flying around hitting people's property.
That's correct. They're not shaped such that they really fly very far. That's right. I would not have any concern about that. If this was built near me, I wouldn't have that concern.
And Mr. Cleveland, there's numerous structures in the vicinity of this project. In your opinion, is there any greater risk in that kind of a situation than debris from the other structures that are around this project?
No, it would be similar type risk of any construction material could be blown around. Other construction material just like this.
Sherry, any more
I'm
questions?
not sure. I may not have answered the question fully.
Elise Von Annen, any questions?
No question.
Maria Miller, any questions?
No question.
Eugene, any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead, Eugene, please stand up.
Eugene Hedeker. Wouldn't the inverter be more apt to catch fire than one of the panels?
Potentially, inverters can, have electrical faults and catch fire, but there's also not much to burn in them. There are circuit boards, capacitors, some electronics equipment that can burn, but they are small, and so if it burns fully, it's not a big enough fire to catch anything else around it on fire because there's nothing else around it to be caught on fire.
And you could put that out with water?
Well, practically you would just let it burn itself out. But yes, you could safely put it out with water if you felt like you needed to put it out. But the general recommended practice is basically stand back and let it burn itself out because it'll do it soon enough.
Okay. And Mr. Cleveland, those inverters are enclosed as well, essentially in a box. Is that correct?
Andrew?
Yeah.
Not supposed to testify. Let's go through everybody. Hold off. Teresa Stratton, any questions?
No questions.
Shana Delaney, any questions?
No.
Don Miller, any questions?
No.
Randy Thorpe, any questions?
No.
Shane Bailey, any questions?
No.
Jane Varco, any questions?
No.
John Batoski, any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead, John.
There's possibility of these fires, right? And you say there's really nothing there for it to burn. But these panels are in a hayfield. So my question is, does a project like this have any effect on somebody's homeowner's policy?
Not that I've ever heard of or aware of.
Okay?
I don't see why it would.
Well, I would.
Yeah, I mean, if there was flooding.
Anything else, John?
That's it.
Wayne Maycheck, any questions?
I have nothing.
Dean Stratton, any questions? Mayor Norella, any questions?
No question.
Joe Eunice, any questions?
Nope.
Andrew, any follow-up on everything that they asked?
Again, Mr. Cleveland, these, the inverters are rated to National Electrical Code standards. Is that correct?
That's correct. There's a safety standard for inverters, and they are certified to that standard.
And that safety standard is really mainly a fire standard, is that correct?
That's the focus of it. There are some shock hazard aspects, but yes, the focus is fire safety.
And so, based on meeting those standards, you would not expect there to be any greater fire risk than other similar uses. They use electrical equipment certified to the National Electric Code, is that correct?
Yeah, I think that'd be fair to say. Yes.
I don't have any more. Do you have questions?
I have no questions. Does anybody have any questions based on those last questions, only confined to those last questions? The answer is no. We're going to take a break. It's 8:15. Why don't we take 10 minutes? Everybody can stretch their legs. Get some fresh air outside. Andrew,